They thought they had you figured out. They thought they knew exactly who you were, what you could handle, how much you could take before you broke. They wore their masks with pride, played their roles like seasoned performers. They wanted to be villains in your story. They wanted to be the ones who pushed you down, stepped on you, laughed while you struggled to crawl back up. They thought they could hurt you and walk away without a scratch, but they made a mistake, and not just any mistake. No, they made the kind of mistake that can never be undone. They thought they could break you without facing the consequences. At first, you let them believe it. You let them have their moment. Let them think they were in control. You watched them lie, cheat, manipulate, destroy. You saw them weave their little schemes, stack the deck against you, build their empire on top of the ruins they left behind. They called themselves powerful. They called themselves untouchable. They thought they were the ones holding the strings, making the rules, setting the stage. But while they were busy playing the villain, they failed to realize something far more terrifying. You were never just another victim in their story. You were never just a pawn in their game. No, you were something else entirely. Something they never saw coming. Because while they were busy playing their little roles, while they were celebrating their so-called victories, you were changing. You were transforming. They thought they were creating a tragedy, but what they really did was awaken something far more dangerous. They didn't break you, they freed you. They let loose something that can't be controlled, something that doesn't play by their rules. They tried to be villains, but what they really did was create their worst nightmare. See, villains love attention. They love the spectacle, the performance, the audience gasping at their every move. They thrive on being feared, being known, being seen. But nightmares don't need to be seen to be felt. They don't need an audience. They don't need applause. They don't even need a stage. They creep in silently, unnoticed, until it's far too late. And that is what you have become. You stopped playing their game. You stopped trying to win in a system designed to keep you losing. You realized that real power, true power, doesn't need validation. It doesn't need recognition. It moves in silence. It waits in the shadows. It watches. It calculates. It waits for the perfect moment to strike. And when it does, it doesn't just defeat, it annihilates. They thought you would fight back the way they expected. They thought you would scream, throw a fit, demand justice. They were waiting for it, preparing for it, ready to shut you down the second you tried. But you didn't give them the satisfaction. Instead, you let them think they won. You let them believe that their little victory was real. You let them bask in their arrogance, in their overconfidence, in their belief that they had finally crushed you for good. But in reality, you were never defeated. You were evolving. They wanted a villain, but what they got was something much worse. Something that doesn't play fair. Something that doesn't fight by the rules. Something that doesn't stop. You are the shadow they cannot outrun. You are the whisper in the dark that they cannot silence. You are the reminder that actions have consequences, that every move they made to tear you down was just another step toward their own downfall. And the best part, they will never see it coming. They will never understand how it happened. They will never know which moment was their last, which mistake sealed their fate, because you are not coming for them with a roar. You are not coming for them with flashing lights and dramatic confrontations. You are coming for them in silence, in the moments they least expect, in the places they thought were safe. They wanted to play the villain. They wanted to be the ones in control, but they forgot one simple rule. Villains are meant to be feared, but nightmares are inescapable. And now they get to learn that lesson the hard way. They think the story is over. They think they've won. They walk around with that smug satisfaction, convinced that their schemes were flawless, that their betrayals were justified. They pat themselves on the back, convinced they're the masterminds. But the thing about villains, they never see the ending coming. They write themselves as the victor, believing the world bends to their will. But nightmares don't follow their scripts. Nightmares don't play along, and now their greatest miscalculation is about to unfold. They thought you would fade away. They assumed the weight of their actions would crush you, that you would disappear into the shadows, broken and forgotten. But what they didn't realize is that the shadows are where you thrive. You didn't disappear, you grew. Every betrayal sharpened you. Every lie they told became fuel. Every time they laughed at your pain, it only carved the edges of something darker, something stronger. They thought they destroyed you, but they were merely breaking the chains that once held you back. Villains believe their greatest power is fear. They wield it like a weapon, expecting people to cower. But what happens when fear no longer works? What happens when the person they tried to break becomes immune to their games? That's where their illusion of control shatters. They never realize that once you survive the worst of what they can do, their power crumbles. They built their empire on intimidation, but now the cracks are showing. They will feel it soon. The weight of their own actions. The slow, creeping realization that they are no longer the ones in control. No matter how high they build their walls, no matter how deep they try to bury their secrets, nightmares have a way of slipping through the cracks. They will hear the echoes of the damage they caused. Every whisper, every sideways glance, every unexplained moment of dread will gnaw at them, and it won't be loud. No, it will be silent. Silent like the fear that creeps in when the lights go out. Silent like the moment they realize their victory was nothing but an illusion. And you will not lift a finger. You won't waste your breath shouting for justice. You won't beg for apologies. You don't need their guilt. You don't need their regret, because your power was never in their hands to begin with. While they played their petty games, you were building something they can't touch. Resilience, clarity, power. You are no longer shackled by the opinions of those who sought to break you. You are free. And that freedom, that's what terrifies them the most. They will see it in your eyes, that unshakable calm. While they scramble to maintain their facade, you will stand tall. They will wonder how you're still standing, why you're not consumed by the same bitterness that rots them from the inside. But that's the difference between them and you. They chose destruction. You chose transformation. They reveled in chaos. You thrived in it. And now they are left staring into the abyss, only to realize it's staring back at them. They will try to deny it. They will cling to their illusions of control. They will pretend they're still the ones holding the cards. But the moment they see that unshakable look in your eyes, the moment they realize their actions no longer have power over you, it will break them. Because villains don't know what to do when fear no longer works. They don't know how to fight something that moves without a sound. They thought you would seek revenge in the way they expected. They thought you would stoop to their level, that you would become as cruel and reckless as they are. But no, your revenge is far more devastating. It's in the fact that you survived. It's in the fact that every scar they left on you is now a mark of resilience. It's in the way you carry yourself, no longer tethered to the past. Every step forward you take is a reminder of their failure. Every breath you draw is proof that they didn't win. And when they see you rise, when they see the nightmare they created take shape, they will finally understand the consequences of their actions. But by then, it will be far too late. They wanted to play the villain. They wanted to control the story, but they forgot one thing. Nightmares are not bound by stories. Nightmares don't follow the rules. And now they're living in one. They feel it now, don't they? The walls closing in. The air thick with the weight of their own choices. It's funny, really. They thought they could outrun it. They thought they could bury their sins, lock them away and pretend they never happened. But nightmares don't stay buried. They crawl through the cracks. They seep into the spaces they thought were safe. And now the echoes of everything they did are whispering back to them. Oh, they'll pretend they're fine. They'll flash those same empty smiles, walk through the world like they're still untouchable. But every step they take is heavier than the last. Every victory feels a little emptier, because deep down they know the truth. They know something is coming, and it's not a bang. It's not a firestorm they can see from miles away. No, it's a shadow creeping ever closer, a slow, deliberate force. They won't be able to pinpoint when it started. They won't know when the shift began, but they'll feel it. They'll feel it in the pit of their stomach. That cold, undeniable realization that the nightmare they created has taken on a life of its own. And what's truly terrifying for them is that they can't stop it. They can't undo what's been set in motion. See, when villains play their games, they never think about the aftermath. They savor the destruction, revel in the chaos, and laugh as they watch others crumble. But the thing about chaos, it never stays contained. It lingers, it festers, and eventually, it turns back on the ones who unleashed it. You gave them every chance. You held your ground. You took the blows and stayed silent. You endured it all while they mistook your patience for weakness. But every storm needs its calm before it breaks. Every nightmare needs its stillness before it consumes everything. And now, that stillness is over. They'll call it paranoia at first. They'll think the shadows they see out of the corner of their eye are just tricks of the mind. The sudden anxiety, the restless nights, the feeling that something isn't quite right, they'll brush it off. But it will grow. That sense of dread will coil tighter with every passing day. And the worst part, they won't be able to name it. They won't be able to trace it. Because their nightmare isn't loud. It isn't tangible. It's a weight pressing down on their chest, a force that gnaws at the edges of their mind. And you don't have to lift a finger. See, the greatest revenge isn't chaos. It isn't destruction. It's the undeniable realization that they destroyed themselves. They handed you every weapon you needed without even knowing it. Their lies, their betrayals, their cruelty, it all came with a cost. Every piece of misery they threw your way became another shard of the mirror they refused to look into. And now that mirror stands before them, reflecting back everything they tried to hide. But here's the real beauty of it. You aren't defined by what they did to you. You aren't chained to the role they tried to force upon you. You were never just a victim of their story. While they fed on their illusions of power, you were becoming something else entirely. You were shedding every layer of doubt, every ounce of fear. You weren't just surviving. You were evolving. And now, when they see you, they'll see the reflection of everything they tried to break, but stronger. Every scar they left has become a mark of resilience. Every tear they caused has watered the roots of something they can never destroy. You are no longer the person they targeted. You are the aftermath. You are the reckoning. You are the force they didn't believe existed, until now. They'll wonder why you don't lash out. They'll expect retaliation, chaos, destruction. But what they won't expect is your calm, because your power isn't in the storm they anticipated. It's in the silence that follows. It's in the unsettling realization that their attempts to control you failed. It's in the understanding that no matter how much they tried to reduce you, you grew beyond them. And that's why they fear you. Not because you are angry, not because you are bitter, but because you are free. They thought they could right your downfall. They thought they could mold you into their perfect victim. But instead, they crafted their own undoing. And now, every moment they spent trying to break you will haunt them. Not because you seek vengeance, but because your very existence is proof that they never truly won. They played the villain. They reveled in their schemes. But nightmares are eternal. And long after their masks have crumbled, long after the weight of their choices has dragged them down, you will remain unbroken, unstoppable, the nightmare they never saw coming. And now, the final act begins. They thought the curtain had closed. They thought the story was theirs to write. But the thing about nightmares, they don't end when the sun rises. They linger, they follow, they haunt. Every step they take, every glance over their shoulder, every flicker of doubt that gnaws at the back of their mind. That's you. You are not gone. You are not defeated. You are the shadow they can't shake. But here's the real irony. You didn't even have to chase them. No, the most terrifying nightmare is the one that never has to lift a hand. They will destroy themselves, one decision at a time. Every lie they told, every bridge they burned, every mask they wore, it all comes back. Because when you play the villain long enough, you forget where the act ends and the truth begins. They thought power was something they could steal. They thought dominance could be bought with betrayal. But what they never understood is that real power cannot be taken. It can only be earned. And you earned every ounce of yours. They mistook your kindness for weakness. They believed your silence was submission. But you weren't silent because you were afraid. You were silent because you were watching. You were calculating. You saw every move they made, every lie they spun, every game they played. And now, those games are turning on them. The applause has stopped. The crowd has gone silent. And all that's left is the echo of their own choices. They'll wonder when it happened. When did the ground shift beneath them? When did the fear creep in? Was it the moment they realized their friends had grown distant? Or perhaps when their reflection in the mirror no longer looked victorious, but hollow? They will try to ignore it. They will pretend nothing is wrong. But the truth will cling to them like a second skin. Because the weight of what they did, it never truly leaves. It festers. It consumes. And yet, here you stand. They thought they had you caged, but they only taught you how to break free. They thought they stripped you of your strength, but all they did was force you to find a strength they could never touch. Every scar they left behind now gleams like armor. Every tear they caused watered the roots of a force they can't outrun. You are no longer their victim. You are no longer the name they whisper with pity. You are the name they fear. But the true nightmare isn't the vengeance they expect. No. It's far worse, because your revenge is not chaos. It is not fire and ruin. It is the undeniable proof that you are beyond them. They tried to drag you into the dirt, but you rose from it. They wanted to define you by your pain, but you became something far greater. And that is what will haunt them forever. They'll watch as you succeed. They'll see the very world they tried to steal from you fall into your hands. And the cruelest part, they won't even be able to stop it, because you aren't controlled by the same need for destruction that drives them. Your power isn't fueled by vengeance, it's fueled by resilience, by purpose, by the unbreakable force of knowing exactly who you are. They played the villain. They reveled in their schemes. But you became the one thing they could never predict. You are the reminder that their actions had consequences. You are the force that walks calmly through the wreckage, untouched. And every time they hear your name, every time they see your face, they will remember. They will remember the strength they tried to break. They will remember the nightmare they created. But as for you, you don't have to look back. You don't have to waste another moment thinking of them, because they are no longer your burden. They are nothing more than a fading whisper in a story they no longer control. You own your story now, every chapter, every word. They thought they were the nightmare, but now they know the truth. You are